like to introduce our star guest tonight, and that's Clare Donohoe. I first met Clare probably about 5 years ago when she made that trip to Enniskillen, and that journey, we've been together ever since. Clare had become an ambassador of Pulmonary Fibrosis NI, and then become a trustee, and she'll tell you her story. There's quite an interesting story when it comes to the book, but also about her life and her journey with pulmonary fibrosis. So would you please welcome Clare to the stage. Thank you.
Lord Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. And a very special thank you to you, Marion, for inviting us here this evening. It is a privilege to be here to share our journey of writing and publishing Heat the Puffling's Brief Adventure, a world-first children's book about pulmonary fibrosis. Some of you here know firsthand the challenges of living with or supporting a loved one through any life-limiting disease. Pulmonary fibrosis is a disease that touches both patients and their families deeply, and it is often hard to explain to other adults, never mind children. Sadly, this disease has had a devastating impact on our family. In 2018, my husband Tom presented with a continuous cough that simply would not go away following several courses of antibiotics. He was 43 years of age. In 2019, following a lung biopsy in the Royal Hospital in Belfast, the diagnosis of idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis was confirmed. What was this lung disease? What impact would it have on my husband and our young family? My husband was 43, our daughter Hannah was 14, and our son Ryan, who is here tonight, was just 6. As a lecturer in Southwest College in Enniskillen, my innate need to learn about this disease kicked in. Whilst my husband handled his diagnosis in the early days in a quiet and unassuming manner, I went off work for 3 months and he continued to work as a loading shovel digger driver in Balcas, a local sawmill. The tables turned dramatically in June 2024 when I took voluntary redundancy from my career as a lecturer in order to care for Tom as he navigated the late stages of IPF in the hope of a transplant at the Freeman Hospital in Newcastle. But sadly, this was not to be. On the 11th of August, Tom's fibrosis exacerbated. He was admitted to critical care in the Southwest Acute Hospital in Enniskillen. He stayed there on CPAP and life support for 3 weeks, unable to be transferred to Newcastle in England due to his high oxygen needs. And devastatingly, he died on the 1st of September 2024. To say our hearts are broken is an understatement. Tom was textbook. His prognosis was 3 to 5 years from diagnosis. Having been an ambassador and then a trustee of Pulmonary Fibrosis Northern Ireland since 2022, I knew only too well, through lived experience and having witnessed the devastation that this disease wreaks on families. And when asked what support is there for children, at a talk that Tom and I were doing at the time on behalf of the charity in Queen's University in Belfast. In February 23, there was a resounding void, so I committed there and then to writing a book for children, like Hannah and Ryan, my children, to understand the impact of this disease. I wanted to create something that could open the door to meaningful conversations, a book that helps families to talk about pulmonary fibrosis in a way that young minds can understand and hearts can embrace. I wanted to craft a story that could provide education and emotional support, offering children a way to grasp the reality of the disease, but without being overwhelmed by its complexities. Pulmonary fibrosis profoundly affects not only those diagnosed, but their families. And children in particular often struggle with understanding why their loved ones are getting weaker, why they're coughing more, why they're struggling to breathe. And these are big, scary changes, and children are often left in the dark, not knowing how to process the emotions that come with them. I wanted to do it right, so I enlisted the expertise of the wonderful Janet, Tom and Ina's niece, and Kevin McHugh, who is a wonderful artist, to help with writing the script and to illustrate the book. And as has previously been mentioned, Janet has sadly got lived experience of the disease as well, and you will hear shortly from them in a little video. Together, we knew only too well when depicting this story that great care had to be taken to ensure that the book speaks to children's emotional intelligence while providing them with simple, digestible information about pulmonary fibrosis. The book would be a vehicle to offer families a way in which to explain what's happening in a comforting and clear way. When writing Pete Puffling's Brave Adventure, it was important to us all to balance clarity with compassion. The story must be honest yet gentle. It should educate without instilling fear. And fundamentally, it must offer hope, even in the face of uncertain prognosis. The challenge was not to water down the truth, but to present it in a way that children could easily grasp. The story was corroborated by fellow trustees, patients, carers, families and friends, and teaching colleagues, as well as Dr. Nazia Chowdhury and other nursing specialists, to ensure that the story was age appropriate and accurate. Their feedback was invaluable in making sure that the book was both medically responsible and sensitive to the emotional needs of children. Pete the Puffling's Brave Adventure is a heartwarming tale where Pete, a young puffling, and his grandpa Percy are the best of friends. When Grandpa Percy is diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis, Pete is scared and confused. What is this disease? How will it change Grandpa Percy? And can they still spend precious time together? With the help and support of his friends and family, Pete learns to understand the condition and finds new ways to make memories with his beloved grandpa. Pete the Puffling's Brave Adventure touches on emotional aspects, encouraging children to express their feelings, ask questions, and understand that it is okay to feel sad and confused, or even angry. Most importantly, it emphasises that they are not alone. Whether through their friends, family, or other professionals such as teachers, they do have a support system around them. Since its release at our book launch in the Workhouse in Enniskillen on the 15th of June 2024, we have been touched by the feedback from families, healthcare providers, and advocacy groups from across Ireland, the UK, USA, Australia, and the Netherlands and beyond. We've read the book at Ryan's Primary School to 500 children, and I've been invited to Birmingham to speak at an international lung disease conference. In March, I intend to travel to Luton for World Book Day to read the book at my sister's school, as she is the principal of a special needs school. And indeed, I believe Marion's inviting us back to Cork. But I agree. We look forward. Families affected by pulmonary fibrosis have shared how the book has helped their children to come to terms with what's happening to their loved ones, giving them the words and images they need to understand the illness. Pulmonary fibrosis can make people feel isolated, but this book fosters connections by opening up conversations within families, which in turn will help children to cope better and feel supported. There is scope for some sequels when the time is right. One that addresses bereavement and grief, and another that offers the hope of lung transplantation, addressing the importance of making people aware of the gift of life through organ donation. In conclusion, writing Pete the Puffling's Brave Adventure wasn't just about explaining pulmonary fibrosis. It was about using the storytelling and incredible illustrations as a tool for educating children and promoting healing and understanding of pulmonary fibrosis. And indeed it is relevant for any terminal illness. It is of utmost importance to be mindful that at the heart of this story are the people, patients, carers, and especially the children who will be reading it. It is hoped that by keeping children's needs, their fears, their hopes at the forefront of our story, that we have created a book that informs and inspires even in the face of one of life's hardest challenges, pulmonary fibrosis. I hope that through Pete the Puffling's Brave Adventure, we can continue to do the work that we do in raising awareness and offering support, and most importantly, help children and families navigate this journey with understanding, empathy, and hope. I will leave you with the words of Matthew Spencer. I cannot guarantee you sunshine, but I can promise to stand beside you no matter how hard it rains.